2, 3.
One thing I'll never understand.
Under the Gun was filmed in Greenville, South Carolina back in 2015. This project was my first project out on my own. After working with Students Double Productions over the course of 3 years, even longer than that if you count the years Aramis and I spent writing scripts together. So this was a big step for me, to go out on my own and do a self-produced film in America, the country I just relocated to. And this was actually originally a project that was meant to be done with Students Double, but we were focusing on so many different projects at the time, and there were some other goals at that company at that time. So when I moved on to create my own company, this was the perfect project to start with.
How'd you do?
Find out. The funeral. I looked into your eyes. You lied.
This film had a lot of very strong themes, mainly being revenge and feeling that you get when you're betrayed. Some disagreements within the reins in the Italian mafia, how these characters were all out for themselves, and in the end, one person got screwed over by it, and that led this character that's played by Kevin, named Zachary, to really go out and just try to be his own thing, and this is what happens when you take revenge too far. There's a lot of hidden themes within this project, but those were the main focusing elements.
Life is a game of chess, Mr. Marcello. And you're one wrong move away from death.
From revenge in the Italian mafia to espionage with Violators. Violators was written by Gilbert LaBerge and myself. This was the first project Gilbert and I have worked on together. And it's a take on how the government allegedly spies on people, not just in the US, but all over the world. We aren't taking a firm stance in the film. It has heavy person of interest influences, but it's from the perspective of 3 different people. You have this character that you're seeing now on screen, Olivia Coates, played by Helena Sullivan, who I worked with on a feature, The Rush Chairman. The goal for her is to get these leaked documents out into the world. Then you have the character I play, who his job is to track her down and stop her.
Now I have seen it all. The system isn't my first priority, though. That honor goes to the people behind it.
And then you have Gilbert's character, a character who's acting as a vigilante, in a sense. His goal is to stop these people in power his own way, and his own way is by the measures of execution.
It still keeps me up at night.
The cold, hard fact is, people still haven't learned that they're in danger no matter what. They didn't learn after the shooting in the police department in Texas.
This project was put together in a very documentary-esque style, with a very strong visual presence. That was the main goal of the film from a visual standpoint, from a visual storytelling
As someone opposed to
standpoint.
nationwide surveillance, people say I'm violating their safety. But what's the worth of safety if every precious second of our lives is being recorded?
And I think we accomplished that very well. The whole film is narration heavy, outside of when you see the politician towards the end of the film. Those are the only spoken words throughout the entire film.
The country's front door would be open to enemies all over the world.
And then we have our FLAVIO cameo as Angelo DePardo walks by. You'll notice throughout a lot of our projects that FLAVIO has little appearances, which we'll talk about that a little more later, as FLAVIO connects all of the projects I've ever worked on.
We're learning about ourselves.
On to our third project, Decades Apart. That one, I have to say, the two variations that we made of that, which I'll talk about both of them here, those cuts were definitely the favorite projects I've ever been a part of. I would say that, and even some of the projects I worked on with Student Style Productions, such as The Challenger, Deep Trouble, were all up there as well. But these first three Sharpshooter production projects were just some of the best experiences I had in addition to those. And this one in particular, though, was like nothing else I've ever done before, and nothing like Gilbert's ever done before. We collaborated again on this one, and it was just a real good, exciting time. And I made several extensive videos talking about it, but we'll talk about it one last time here again.
That noise, it sounds like a...
Like a train? Yes, I'm at Central Station.
That station's been shut down since the 70s.
Oh. So you're a seer now?
Putting this film together took a lot of time. Took a couple years almost, really. We had several different concepts for it. We had a version called Time Change, a version called Time Difference, a version called Across the Years, and several other differing stories. And I went back recently and I looked at all of those different variations we had, and all of them were very good. But the version that combined my original concept with Gilbert's concept, with his version, which was Time Difference, those two married all the ideas in the best possible way, in a way that I couldn't have imagined. And that brought what I think is one of the most unique films I've ever made, and one that I knew while I was making it I would never be able to top. So while making this process, it was intended to be the final film. It didn't work out like that, as I did return for projects like FLAVIO and The Angry Cook and things of that nature, which I'll get to as well. But this one here, this was expected to be the final one, so I put a lot of work and effort into it, as well did Gilbert and the production team, which we also had producers Brett Kana and Helena Sullivan, who produced the feature that I directed, titled The Rush Chairman, as well.
And I'm just waiting for a call from my girl... just waiting for a call.
A transmission from Mars?
Oh, you're hilarious, old timer.
This film has some very strong messages and themes to it. It was about identity. It was a very big thing with identity, about feeling like you're born in the wrong era, which Martin Tyleeke's character, Nathan Grimm, feels that very strongly. His phone call gets lost, and it's received from 1953 to, at the time, 2018, and it forms a bond where both characters feel like they don't belong in the current decades that they're in, and they're both yearning for something else, and they find that connection through a phone. And what makes this even more heartbreaking for those characters is they might never meet, and even if they do meet, how logistically would that work? How would they get together and stay together throughout time and space? When they do eventually cross paths at the end of the film, is it reality or is it a dream? There's a lot of different layers to this project. One of the deepest projects Gilbert and I ever wrote together. And it's something that I'll always be very, very proud of. Especially the Noir Cut, which that version took the original concept and just edited things in a slightly different way to bring those messages across differently. The first film, I mentioned this in previous videos, the first film we were on a very big time crunch due to festivals to get it done. So when Brett was editing it, we had to rush the process a little bit. As in the Noir Cut, I spent a good year reworking the entire thing. And I think the results show through the black and white, and then which then later blends into color.
She broke up with me last night.
I'm so sorry.
Before we get further into the Noir Cut, I want to take a second and talk about the actors of this film. And not just this film, but all the films. I was very lucky with all the Sharpshooter films to have the type of cast that we had. This film in particular was the hardest casting challenge, finding Diane's character. My friend Deborah Hahn ended up landing the role, and we had about, I think it was somewhere around 80 to 100 audition tapes, and we just couldn't find the right balance from an acting standpoint, a look standpoint, an age standpoint. So many different factors went into it. But once she looked at the script, she being Deborah, and she really connected with the material, she wanted to audition. And then the rest is history, and she's one of the standouts of all the films I've worked on.
I wouldn't say that.
Martin Tylicki, also, we had a similar challenge with finding the perfect actor for him. It was between him and one other actor after about 50 or 60 auditions, and Martin ended up landing it. He had that extra charm that was needed for this type of character. A character that is more introverted, a character that is more at home for various reasons, which he does talk about throughout the film. His girlfriend breaks up with him. He has old school values, and he wants to be in a completely different era. And then Diane is in an abusive relationship, something that definitely would not fly in the modern day, and definitely would not, for most people, would not even stay in that relationship. So it was the marrying of those two people, which a lot of people seem to think this is like a romantic story. I don't know for certain if it is. This is just a story about two people finding a connection.
Your mother's house? My mom's the only mother here.
Well, 5691383. That's my mother's phone number.
She must have changed numbers.
No, I can promise you. She's had that number since 1948.
As you can already see from the little bit of footage that I've showcased of the Noir Cut, there is a drastic difference in the editing, the visual style, obviously same type of camera angles, but difference in terms of the film grading and the music, and just the whole ambiance is just very, very different. The atmosphere is different. It's very sci-fi for a film that is really sci-fi. A Call Getting Lost from 1953 to 2018. Not much more sci-fi you can get, but sci-fi not in the alien type of way that a lot of people think of. And I think that's what makes this very different, because it's very subtly sci-fi. And I think this cut with the music and the direction that we went in with this version shows it in a very different way.
See her now.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, you're trying to tell me that I'm at a station that will close in 17 years.
This aspect here, one of the more darker parts of the film, where Deborah's character reveals that she's in an abusive relationship. The way the music comes in, the way Deborah gets teary-eyed, and the way Martin handles it on his end is just a large standout of this film.
Bruised. They really hurt.
Son of a... Well...
You also may have noticed there's an audio difference from both cuts. The audio in this one was meant to feel more raw, more real, as if you're experiencing this with them, like in the moment in real life. And I think no scene captures that emotion better than this one here.
Maybe that is the problem. You and Christian lived in my time. You never get away with something like that.
If only we did live in your time.
One of the biggest aspect changes from both cuts was this scene here as well. Not only with the black and white, but how we go back into color. The music is very intense, it's very rock heavy and very upbeat, as if you know something's about to happen, something big. And that's where we go here, when Martin's character arrives. He arrives and they're both shocked. They can't believe it, that they somehow found a way to make this work and to see each other, if they're in fact seeing each other. Then, of course, good things don't last forever all the time, and Josh Royston's character has to come in and spoil the party for everyone.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is... Please note, the new number is...
All right, let's get down to business. The name's Flavio, or as my paisanos used to call me, the executioner. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would Jay grant me the honor of such a name?
As you've just heard, this character's name is Flavio, played by Angelo Pardo, my father. After Decades Apart, I didn't think I'd be doing any more films, at least short films, that is. But then COVID happened, and during lockdown in Charleston, South Carolina, we decided to make the most use of our time. We just got a camera for our upcoming documentary series that we were going to do called The Mind's Eye, which eventually came out in 2022. But we obviously couldn't do that due to COVID, and we couldn't get many people involved because everything was on lockdown. So the three of us, myself, Angelo, my dad, and my mom, Angela, all went out and made this project called FLAVIO, which interlocked all of our projects together, as Flavio made appearances in Decades Apart as an extra, Under the Gun, and Violators, all in cameos. So this film would tie everything together, and maybe even the Challenger projects, as he played a very similar character called Provenzano in the Challenger. And that's how this project came to be. It was written within 30 minutes. It was a very simple project with some Sopranos inspirations. And that's how this project was born.
I understand.
Che c'è il problema?
It's none of your concern, Flavio.
Polly, how many times have I told you, if you need therapy, call Uncle Mike. He's the best. Forza una cinta.
Flavio, please. Let's fucking stay on topic.
If you're wondering, the man in the mask, named Paulie, is actually portrayed by me, and that is my voice, although it's modulated with heavy effects that I did in the editing bay. Another key note for this Flavio project is Flavio actually made a return with the final short film that Sharpshooter Productions made called Flavio is Alive in 2024, which, interesting fact about that one, that film was made with all leftover footage from the 2020 shot Flavio short film. Nothing new had to be shot for that. I just had to write a quick monologue for that, which was a more comedic take. And we won't have a separate section based on that because there's not really much more to say about that project other than it was a fun little short sequel to Flavio, as well as another project we did called Stadium 16, which came out before this Flavio project in 2020, but that was a minute and 50-second or so short horror concept where Helena had an appearance. But we're not going to go into those projects as those are very short, concise concept films. Speaking of horror, let's dive into the creepy, short, solo animation project that I worked on called The Angry Cook. This project was supposed to happen as a follow-up to Decades Apart in 2018 to 2019, somewhere in that range, as what would have been my only animation short. It was going to be worked on by Matthew Kuan Yin, my childhood friend from Toronto. but a lot of circumstances happened, COVID happened, so many things happened, and the project never got finished. But I had the storyboards that he and Kyron Miller from Disney worked on together. And with the invention of AI technology, I was able to take this short concept that I came up with alongside John Pierce, who did the fashion designs for Decades Apart. I was able to use the technology and turn this into a fun little 2-minute, 30-second horror short film. I hope you all enjoyed this long 20-minute video essay. I had a great time making these films with all the collaborators that I worked with, and I'm so proud of all the results and my time in film. And to end it off by, for those of you who don't know, me returning to work with Student Cell Productions on one final Challenger film alongside Aramis Pachito called The Challenger Redemption. There was no better way for me to cap it off, and just really proud of everything that me and my team and my teammates have accomplished with these films. And I hope everyone will keep watching.